I have been gone. It was an unintentional summer off, I guess is the best way to put it. I had every intention of being very consistent over the summer and posting videos and figured I'd have the time to do it. And it turned out that I didn't. And I also sort of fell into a creative rut. I think I finally, all the switch over from close to my heart to Stampin' Up, I had a lot of energy and a lot of drive. And it kind of all caught up to me this summer, including the fact that I had lots of things going on this summer with a new job and getting my daughter back off to college this month. So unfortunately, that made a lapse in my posting and creating videos. And I do appreciate everyone who answered my poll and at the end of July on what they wanted to see created. 12 by 12 layouts using sketches, using the Gnomes for Summer paper, and so that really did help me when I wanted to get back into creating something this week. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and talk through what we're going to do today. There was a stamp set that was also that came out on top. It was the Cheerful Daisies. I know for sure it was Cheerful Daisies. It also might have been of Art and Texture. I'll see if I can incorporate them into this layout, but I'm not sure that I will be able to. So that might be another layout that I do in September instead of in August. But I did want to start with the Gnomes for Summer, as well as a sketch. So this is a sketch that I created for a 12 by 12 layout. And I actually decided to get my inspiration from the annual catalog, from the Stampin' Up! Annual catalog on page 22. There is basic card designs, and they have given some really, really great sketches for some card designs. And I thought, well, that would be kind of interesting to take one of these card designs and turn it into a layout. And so the card design that I selected was this one right here. And I know it's really small, and hopefully I'm getting close enough that you can actually see it. But this card design where it's got the torn paper and has this flag here at the top, or this tag up here at the top. And I thought that would be a really great layout. So what I went ahead and did is I created a sketch using that concept. And you can see here I've got the torn paper, and I'm carrying that across both parts of the layout. I've got the flags or the tags or the banners here on the right. And then I have put a title at the bottom, and I've got pictures matted with some embellishments around. So again, with a sketch, it's an idea starting place. You do not have to follow it exactly. It will depend a lot on your pictures and on your papers that you're using. So, you know, just because I put stars as some of the embellishments doesn't mean that that has to be stars, right? You could do 2 layers of tearing of paper. You could make the tearing bigger and have it come up higher on the layout. So again, use it as a starting point for your creativity when you're using a sketch. Don't feel like you have to follow it exactly as it's done. So this sketch I will put down in the description below as a link if you're interested in grabbing the sketch, so you can use it and follow it along with your own papers. All right, so I'm going to set that aside, and this is the paper and sticker sheet for the Gnomes for Summer, and we are going to be using some of the pieces of the sticker sheet because I do like some of the elements. I like the tags or the banners that are here, so I think I'll be using those. There's also this concept of a string of banners that might end up on this layout as an option as well. I really like the popsicles with the journaling lines, so I think that's great. And I might also try to use A Good Day Sunshine as the title. I'm not sure about these other titles. This is really big. I'm not sure it's going to fit, but we're going to play around. We're going to see which ones of these stickers we're going to end up using. All right, so I'm going to set that aside. And then we've got our papers. So these are the papers that are part of the Gnomes for Summer. There are two papers that have big elements on them. The gnome is on one side, and then the pink flamingos and pineapples and things are on the other side. So this paper really didn't work for, in my mind, didn't work for the sketch itself. So I'm not going to be using either of these papers in this particular application. So what I did have is we had this wavy pattern, was watercolor wave, right, with all the colors that are part of this paper pack. We had this plaid. We have a paper sailboat, and then we have these words. And I thought that for this particular sketch, that these papers would work the best. Now, I will also say that you can substitute these. These could all be cardstock, or you could use one of these papers and do the other two in cardstock. So again, it's really up to you and how you would like to use it. But I really thought that I could use all three of these patterned papers to create these torn paper bottoms on the layout. All right, so I am going to use white as my base. So I'm just using white daisy. And I am going to take off my Stampin' Up! Glass mat because I'm going to be working on a 2-page spread. And for me, that my Versamat works better for me when I'm working on a 2-page spread. All right, so we are going to go ahead and take a look at these. So on the sketch, I have given you some rough numbers. And again, please be free with this. You don't need to follow these numbers at all. I just put it down just in case you're interested. So the 2.5 by 12, what I'm measuring is this left side over here. So this is 2.5 by 12. This is 3.25 by 12, and this is 3.25 by 12. And we're going to be layering these things underneath each other. But if you'll notice, this is, not straight. This is torn. This is a little bigger up here. This one gets a little bit of a mountain, and then it comes down, and then this one's kind of a little bit just wavy. And then I've mirrored that on the right-hand side of the layout. Do the best you can. It doesn't need to be perfect. Remember, these are going to be in a binder, and so they're going to be separated. So if they're not perfectly lined up, it's okay. All right, so what I'm going to start with is I'm going to start with tearing the paper. Now, the first paper that I think the paper I want on the bottom, so the one that's in this dark gray, I want to start tearing that. And there are a couple of ways that you can go about tearing. One is that you can actually wet this with a water brush, and that will allow you to have a little bit of a controlled line. Okay, so when you wet the paper, then it's going to want to tear in that particular spot because the paper is more fragile. So you could do that. You can also mark off where you want to start your tear. So you could come in and just do a quick pencil mark, right here at 2.5, and then start your tear. Now, there are two ways to tear depending on the result that you want. If you want to have the white showing, then you're going to tear towards yourself. You're going to take it and you're going to tear towards yourself, and that will give you a white edge. If you don't want a white edge, then you need to tear away from yourself, or you turn it over and tear towards yourself so that when you flip it over, it doesn't have a white edge. Either way is going to work for what I think we're doing here, so I'm not really going to worry about it too much. And so what I'm going to do is I am going to just grab a pencil here, and I'm going to just sort of mark 2.5. Right, I'm just going to mark 2.5. And I am going to start tearing. I tear where I put my fingers kind of where I want to start, and I'm doing it pretty close together, and I'm going to just start tearing. And I tend to tear using my hands fairly close, or at least one hand fairly close to where I want that tear to go. All right, and so the reason I do that is that way I can control it a little bit more versus just doing a rip and pull scenario. All right, so I want some variation here in this. I do not want it to be too uniform, and I'm going to just keep tearing until I get to the end here, and then I'm going to take a look at it and decide, am I happy with that tear? So I do feel like it's really straight, and so I think I'm going to come in here and I'm going to just pull a little bit more out on that. And I don't really like this either, so we're going to do a little bit more there. Okay, so I'm a little bit happier with that. I feel like there's enough variation there, and that's pretty good. All right, so the second tear that I'm going to do is going to be this piece here. And this piece I started at 3.5. So again, I'm going to just put this on my Versamat. I'm going to just give it a rough mark here. But my thought is that I want this to be the words. So I'm going to just find my mark. And again, I'm going to tear this piece. And I do really want to see those words. That's why this piece is a little bit bigger. And you can see I'm just roughly trying to tear this, and I'm trying to change the shape a little bit where I've got a more, and actually this is going to have to go on the right hand side because I can't turn the words over. So I actually need to start tearing from this side in order to get the tear to work. So this is going to be my right hand side tear. So we're going to do this again and just make sure that I've got this right. Just going to do again a 3.5 mark, and we're going to start tearing. So as you can see, I mean, it's pretty, this is a pretty easy technique to use. It's not requiring a whole lot of tools. It's just a matter of playing around with this paper and creating something that you like, right? From that perspective. So I'm pretty happy with that. I think that will work really well. All right, so I've got my 2 words. So I do need another piece of the bottom. And again, I'm going to just turn this over and I'm going to mark it at 2.5. And like I said, please don't, I'm just demonstrating this. Please don't feel like you have to, and actually I probably should have measured it here. Let's do this. We're going to measure this one. We're going to turn this over because this is going to be on this side. We're going to mark this, and that way we know that our tear is going to be similar in size if I start it with where I ended on that last piece. And what I want to decide, the colors aren't matching up. Sorry, I'm just thinking as I'm looking at this that my waves are not matching up. I probably should have done this a little bit differently, but I have another piece of paper, so I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to use that piece of paper instead so that I can actually have these waves match up a little bit better. This is where you end up having a little bit of I'm not seeing this pattern show up again, really, in this paper. The pattern is ending over here is what I'm seeing. And so what I need to do Yeah, there's no way this pattern is going to match up. Okay, so in that case, if I look at that and I want to decide how I want this, and I do still think it's better for me to grab this piece versus using this piece. Though I could, it just looks like this would be a better match to what's on the left-hand side. Yeah. So I'm going to tear the bottom of this paper. And again, the same thing, I'm going to do this thing that I just said. I'm going to mark this, I'm going to sort of mark it at the top of that. And that's where I want to start my tear. And that way I can match it up when I put the layout together. So I'm going to start my tear where I made that little mark. And again, I'm going to just tear towards myself. It doesn't have to match the other side. In fact, you probably don't want it to match the other side other than the height of where you're starting the tear. So, all right. So there we go. So now we've got that piece, and the colors are at least matching up here, even though the pattern itself is not matching up, which is why I decided to do that. I felt like if I had done it like this, those colors don't match up at all, and it just looks jarringly wrong. It looks like it wasn't intentional. Whereas at least with this, I have the yellow and I have the rosy and the Sundance and the pink, and you're seeing the peaks of the lagoon in there as well. So I think that then creates that continuity, or that continuation between the two layouts. Now I could have probably cut off this piece down here where I've got the lagoon and sort of started a little bit higher, but I think we're okay. I think that works as I have it right now. All right, so we're done with these two pieces of paper because we have our two pieces that we're going to have on the left and right of the words. So we can put that aside. And we have to tear one more paper. So this is where I was unsure whether or not I wanted to have the paper boats or if I wanted to have the plaid. And so what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to just do a little bit of a dry layout here on my Versamat. And I'm going to decide which one of these I like better. So do I like the paper boats, or do I like the plaid? And the good thing about this is I don't really have to decide until after I tear. The difference is that it does depend if I want to see the white edge or not. And I'm feeling like if I have this on white, so again, if I just put this on top of white, it might be too much white. So I'm thinking I want the paper boats, and then I may change my mind once I actually tear this. So again, the tear on this one is going to be at that 3.5 mark. And I have misplaced my pencil again. Does that happen to you? I always seem to misplace the tools once I start using them. So I'm going to just eyeball this at about the 3.5 mark. And again, remember, I'm going back to my sketch here. I have, this is the piece, that third piece that I'm tearing. And actually, let me show you this with the water brush, just as an example. So I'm just going to grab my, my water brush here. This one should be okay. I'm going to, on my all-purpose mat, I'm going to just get some water on this. Just make sure, I don't want to do it on my paper per se, but I want to make sure that I've got water flowing into that brush tip. Because we do need to get the paper not quite wet, but we do need to get enough water in it. And it seems like my water brush is not releasing water. Oh, there we go. Okay, I think we've got it. Okay, so I'm going to just lay this down again on my Versamat. And I'm going to just paint my line. So I'm going to make sure I've got enough water on it. And I'm going to just create a line of water for me to tear against. And I'm going to sort of change the direction of it a little bit, try and create some interest, and we'll see how, if I have enough water there. But again, this is just saturating the paper a little bit, making it a little bit easier to tear. So this would be good, especially if you have some dexterity issues. It will allow you to play with the paper maybe a little bit easier. So you can see that I am tearing. It is kind of following the line that I created. I don't think I got enough water on it, though. It was hard to see where the water was. I'm not seeing that the water came through on all of that line that I just created. But again, it is helping a little bit to break down those paper fibers. All right. So that is the final piece for that one. And we're going to do that again. So I'm going to start this, and we'll just start it again with the water brush, as this is the left side, this is going to be the right side. So we're just going to add some water. Again, I'm squeezing the water, or trying to squeeze the water out of the brush, and then we'll start tearing. Got a little bit more water out that time because I'm definitely feeling the fibers tear better on this version versus the one I did before. Okay, so that's our final tear. All right, so now we've got all of our pieces that we need for our to start our layout. Okay, let's see, got that one there, and that one there. So we've got all three pieces that we need. All right, so I'm going to take this off. We'll bring it back in if we need it, and I am going to start building these pages. So this is a pretty simple sketch. It shouldn't take us that long to build this particular layout. Okay, so we're going to start with putting this at the bottom of our page. So I'm going to go ahead and and what I want to make sure that I'm doing is I need to fit these pieces back underneath. I need to put them underneath the first layer I lay down. So I'm only going to put adhesive at the bottom of this one, and then I'm going to come up just a little bit up the side, and I might put a couple of pieces sort of right above that. So I'm not putting adhesive all the way up to the top because I need to be able to slide these pieces underneath each other. And so I'm going to just line this up with the bottom in the left and the bottom in the right, like that, and put that down. Then I'm going to add adhesive to this one, but I'm going to dry fit it first because I want to decide where I want it and how far down I want it to go. All right, so I want to make sure that I am getting those words all the way underneath, which means I have to come down farther on this left side because I have a lot of paper here. So let's just see. Yeah, that might do this one. Let's just see if this one works better. Now, because I think I want it to be smaller on that side. Yeah, I think we're going to do it like this. Again, just playing around. Remember, this is creativity, and there's no right or wrong. But I do want to make sure that I've got this paper straight and that I've got the pieces layering underneath each other. So I think that will work. I think we've got that. So again, I'm going to put adhesive at the bottom of this, but not at the top because I have another layer that I need to put in. And remember, all of this is going to be sitting in an album. And so these pieces, just with a little bit of adhesive that we're putting on, will stay in place. This adhesive is going to keep everything locked in, and the fact that it's in an album and I don't have any interactive elements on this will mean that the amount of adhesive that I'm using should be just fine. Okay, so I'm just trying to get this all lined up. Need to get a little bit further down here and there. Okay, oops. Not quite to the edge. I'm overlaying on this one side. So we're going to just get our hand under there I want to make sure that I don't have a white edge showing or I have an overhang on the other side. Probably should have made this piece just a hair bit smaller on that left side. Oof. This is making me fight too much. So I'm actually going to tear a little bit of this off because I feel like I'm fighting to get this to fit. So we're going to just tear this piece off here and add a little bit more adhesive. And I think that will make it easier for me to line this up. Yeah, that was much easier just by making that a little bit thinner. It's making this line up a lot better. Yeah, there we go. Okay, I'm happy with that now. Okay, so I feel like I have enough of the words showing. If you wanted to, you could probably pull this up even a little bit more if you wanted a little bit more of the words showing. So again, as long as you are covering that tear that you did at the bottom, if you're using this piece, you can pull that up even more. You just don't want to have a white space there. Okay, so our last piece is going to be our sailboats. And this is where I said I wasn't sure if I wanted to use the boats or if I wanted to use the plaid. And I really do think either one of those work. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to pull in what I think I'm going to use for my mats and have that help me decide. So the colors in this kit are Journey, Lagoon, Lemonade, Ballerina, Sundance, and Charcoal. And so what I did here is I actually put the Stampin' Up! Colors that most closely match these colors if you have Stampin' Up! Cardstock versus Close to My Heart cardstock. So Basic Gray is Charcoal, Pumpkin Pie is Sundance, Pretty in Pink is Ballerina, Lemon Lolly I think is a little bit closer than Daffodil Delight, but you would have to look and see which one you like best. I think Lost Lagoon is closer to Lagoon than Pretty Peacock, which is what our cross-reference sheet says, but I think Lost Lagoon might be a better match. And then Pretty and Peacock, definitely Journey works for that. So I'm going to just take these guys off. And what I want to do is sort of lay out these pieces to decide which of the mats that I might want to use. So I'm really liking Journey as an option. I also think that Lagoon could work really well. I'm afraid the yellow might not work with pictures. That's a hard color to have as a mat for pictures, so I'm thinking that that won't work. I thought the idea of the gray might be fun to add some grounding to this, but when I put it on this layout, I feel like it doesn't really work well. I don't mind that one either. I don't feel like it coordinates as well though. And maybe it's because I've got the Lagoon and the Journey in this pattern, and I've got the Sundance further down. So if we put this further down, I don't know, I'm not loving that. And I'm not loving that. So going back to two of my favorite colors, I think these two, and I think from a picture perspective, when you go darker, it allows the pictures to pop more. So I think I'm going to create my mats out of Lagoon. But if you have scraps just like I did, pull them out and see which one looks best with your pictures and which looks best with the other colors in the paper pack, right? That will really help you understand how to mix the colors that are there. All right, so with that, let's flip this over and let's look at if we like this with the paper boats. And I think when I look at this, I actually think the plaid is better. I think the plaid is better. And that's, again, this is going to be a personal opinion. So let's do this. So let's not make that decision yet. Let's lay this out on the right side and let's put it together and let's take a look. Since we know that the two sides that we're dealing with right now, that we know that the first two layers are these first pieces. So I'm gonna do this again. I might make this one smaller, so I'm gonna just lay these next to each other and we're going to do this. And I do have my picture placeholders, so we're going to lay this out. And I had the 4x6s here, two 4x6s, and one 4x6 here, and then the 3x3. Okay, so again, some decision making that's going on here as I'm looking at this and which way I like it better. So let's flip this over. Flip this over. Like so. Okay. I still think I like the plaid the best when I'm looking at it. So again, comment down below. Which way would you have gone looking at this? Which side of that third paper would you have chosen if you were doing this layout? All right, so this one we can put more adhesive on because we are not putting anything underneath it. And I'm going to come back here in a minute probably and put tack down a little bit more adhesive on these other pieces once I get this last piece in place here. Now, one of the other things that you could also do with this is you could ink up these layers to have them stand out a little bit more. And I just thought of that, but I'm not going to take it all apart to ink it up. But again, if you inked up like this layer here, it's going to stand out even more from the other layers. But because I'm putting pictures over the top of these layers, I'm not too worried about doing that. So if I was having more of these layers show, I probably would go ahead and take some ink to them. And I would probably pick, I might even pick that charcoal as an option for the inking. I think that would be quite interesting to have that. I'm going to just pull this up a bit so the layers are fairly even here. And like I said, that's just a way of making these individual pieces kind of shine on their own. And so think about that as you're going about, building your layout. Is the work that you're putting in it, are you getting is that showing? Is it being represented well? Okay, so I'm pretty happy with this. I feel like it's pretty cohesive. I'm going to go ahead and add a little bit of adhesive on this underneath there to tack this guy down, so that, because this one had the least amount of adhesive of all of them. So I want to make sure that that's tacked down well. I'm going to do the same thing here. Just putting a little bit of adhesive just to make sure that we get it stable. Okay, all right. So that is the first part of this. So next I'm going to go cut some mats and I'm going to come back and we're going to add the mats and the embellishments. All right, so I have created my mats and I have started to lay out the title and some embellishments from the sticker sheet. So I did end up liking Soak Up the Summer Fun as the title. And as I said, I really liked this piece here that is a journaling block. So I'm gonna add that on. And then over here on the right, I played around with some of the banners, and I actually really liked the little flags, the flag banners here. So I decided to use that. And then I think down here in the lower corner, I'm going to do a combination of the ice cream, the smiley face, and the heart. And that's going to pull over the ice cream that I have on this journaling space over onto the right-hand side. So I've got, again, some of the same things happening. I did play around with a few of the word stickers a little bit, and because I had these words on the paper, I felt like they were competing. So I decided I wasn't going to use any of the word stickers that are on on any of these embellishment clusters. One of the things that I did do is on this page, I have inked up the banner pieces. And the reason I did that, and I used charcoal, is to have them stand out a little bit more on the white background. Um, the pieces were kind of flat, and I felt like it needed a little bit more to pop out. So I did some of that inking, and I'm going to do that same thing with this journaling block. And so I just use a foam dauber. This has plenty of ink on it. I'm not trying to ink it up too much. I'm just trying to give it a little bit of definition and depth. And this will allow it to stand off of the picture that it's going to be layered on top of. I did take the sticky off of all of these stickers so that I could play around with it, just using a embossing pouch, powder pouch that you use for embossing. And so you can see there's not that much that you need to do, just a little bit of inking. And then when you lay it back down, you can see that it stands out now from the picture and from the rest of the things that are going on in the background. It just gives the eye a place to rest. The other thing that I felt like needed to happen is that there was too much white, again, around this phrase. Even if I pop it up on foam tape, which I will probably do, it just feels like there's too much white, and it's struggling to show or to pop. Like I could put a piece of paper behind that. I could grab, say, that piece of of Journey, and I could put that behind there. But I didn't really like that. I could pick another color like Sundance, because Sundance is definitely in the title, and I could bring some more Sundance in. But again, I didn't feel like that really worked very well. It's fine. It's not horrible, and I could probably make that work just by doing that, but I didn't personally like it. So what I did is I pulled out 2 stamp sets. Art and Texture has this great little splotch stamp that I thought might work. And then Textured Florals actually has this little texture stamp as well. So what I did is I just took a piece of scrap paper, and I took those 2 stamps, and I just created an example to see which one I liked better. So when I laid this down on top of the one from of Art and Texture, which is this stamp set, I didn't really like the big splotches. I didn't think that looked very good. So then I flipped the paper over, and I tried the same thing with the Textured Floral dots, the little stamp set there, and I think I like that much, much better. The reason being is it feels like sand to me, and I think that it also doesn't distract as much from the title. So with my placement kind of down, and my little sample, I'm going to go ahead and grab my Sundance ink, and I am going to go ahead and add some of these splotches, or this texture, directly to my paper. So roughly, I'm pretty sure that's where I want my title to be. So I'm going to sort of lift it up, and I'm going to add the pieces down. And again, I want to rotate it because I don't want it to look uniform. I want it to look fairly natural. And then I'm going to come over on this side, and I'm going to sort of do the same thing here, just working on creating some natural feeling. And then I can decide if I want to do the top and bottom. And I actually think I don't want to do the top and bottom. I think that actually works. And I'm going to pop this up. And I think just having that little bit on the edges popping out here really helps this title stand out and be cohesive within the layout. And I really like how that looks. All right, so those are some of the embellishments. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go and I'm going to glue all this down, because you don't need to watch me put foam tape on everything. And then we're going to come back and do the last little bit of bling for this layout. All right, so I have gotten most of the embellishments that we pulled from the sticker sheet now on the layout. I have used foam tape for the title. I used foam tape for the banner here, and then I did also use some foam tape, and I did ink up two of these elements, these stickers, the smiley face and the ice cream cone, with again a little bit of that charcoal ink. And then the last thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put on my journaling block. And I just wanted to point out that this is going to overlap onto the photo. So when I put this on, I do not want to have adhesive in this area here, because I won't be able to slip my photo in. So when I am putting adhesive on this, I want to do it around the edges here and not where that photo is. That's important. Otherwise, you won't be able to slide your photo in when you have it ready for the layout. This is also not on 3D foam tape, this photo and placeholder, because I am going to have to write on it, and when it's when I have the pictures, and so I don't want this trying to write on this when it's on 3D foam tape. It just doesn't work well. The other thing that I wanted to point out is that I actually have my mats for the 4x6s at 4x6, and I trimmed down my photo placeholders by 1/4 of an inch on two sides. And the reason I did that is for paper saving purposes. Doing 4 1/4 by 6 1/4 will it doesn't have good paper usage. And usually there's space on the side or on the top or bottom of a picture to trim it down, especially in the 4x6 size. So I decided that in order to save some of my journey paper, that I would do that. The 3x3s I did not cut down, and the placemats are 3 1/4 by 3 1/4. So that is the case for just some information about the photo placeholders. Okay, so the last thing I want to do is add some additional last embellishments, especially up here at the top where I've got the banner. I want to add some embellishments. So I went through and pulled out some of the embellishments that I had from Stampin' Up. So I have the Enjoy the Ride embellishments. These are the little dots that came with Enjoy the Ride. And again, the colors, definitely the rosy and the lemonade will work really well for this. And then the other embellishments that I had that I thought might work are the In Color resin dots. That is another embellishment that might actually work. And then the last one that I had, which is called the Dots for Days, I also thought would work with this layout. So again, they just sort of have a different feel. It just depends on the feel that you're looking for. This is certainly much more muted. And so for me, I think I don't think I'm going to use those. These ones are shiny, and I have a lot more of them, and I think these might work really well. Again, it's colors kind of work really well. These definitely, again, the yellow and the pink work really well with this. So I think we can do that. And I've got a lot more of those little guys. These are just a little bit shinier, but I don't have as many of them. So I think size-wise, I'm just looking at size-wise, which ones I like better size-wise. And I actually like the rosy a lot. I think this is where I struggle with the decision-making here. I think I'm going to go with these guys, and I'm going to go with the rosy on them. And I'm not seeing my little tool, so we're just going to use fingers. And one of the things I want to do is I want to bridge the gap between these pennants. So I want to put these dots, making it be seamless between the individual pendants themselves. So again, I'm just adding these dots in between and making sure that the dot is touching both ends of those two pieces. So now I have a more consistent flow to it. And you could put them at the ends, but I'm not going to put them at the ends because they tend to fall off when I do that. Okay, so that's those dots. I'm going to move the Enjoy the Rides out of the way here. And I need to then, for consistency, I need to add these dots in a couple of more places. So I'm going to go ahead and add some down here. And I'm going to take a couple of different sizes down here. I'm going to go ahead and put just a couple right here for interest. Again, that's the fun thing about playing with these little embellishments is you can kind of play around with them. And again, I'm going to add some here on this piece, tie it in there. And then I'm going to just look and see, is there any place else that I want to add some dots? And I think I'm going to just put some up here like that. And I think overall, now we have a pretty nice little layout. So I'm going to just bring it up so that you can see it. I think the only thing I might add is I might add a line around here. But other than that, I think we have our final layout. So let's bring in the sketch one last time so that you can look at it. So this was the sketch that I used, and you notice that there are a number of changes that I made. So one of the changes is where the title was located. So in the sketch, I had the title down here, but I went ahead and I felt like it fit really well there, and I offset my pictures. So I didn't have them lined up, I offset them. This, instead of using another picture, I did make it a journaling. I put a small cluster over there on the right. I put another small cluster down here. And then instead of the banner being the flags, I did it as a banner with multiple different pieces. And then I added a cluster down here on the right instead of up here on the left. So hopefully you can see how you can take a sketch and you can adjust it, not only for maybe the pieces or the elements that you have from a particular collection or from a particular sticker sheet, as in this case, as well as being able to adjust for your photos, what types of photos you have and how they will play with sizes, because maybe 3x3s don't work for you. You need 3x4s. You could play with that. You could put 2 3x4s here, right? So again, the idea is giving you a starting place and then letting your creativity take it from there. So hopefully it was worth the wait and you got some good tips and you are able to see how to use some of this Gnomes for Summer paper. And I will be back next week with another video, possibly using the Cheerful Daisy stamp set. All right, everyone, I would love to hear any comments that you have about this layout, and I will see you on the next video.